Oh, okay.
Awesome. So, yeah, putting this over here. So, hello everyone, and hi everyone. Welcome to our second webinar on how to talk about Wikimedia and education. So some of you who have joined us in the earlier webinar or who have been in contact with the education team or over various channels might be aware of might be aware of the structural changes or the changes that has happened in the past couple of months. We're still in the process of updating many resources within the education movement by involving community members, by involving different affiliates with the Wikipedia and education user group. So let's talk about Wikimedia and education. Hmm. So this was the brand identity of Wikipedia education program quite a few years back. I hope many of you remember this. We have used this since the beginning of Wikipedia education program as a team at the foundation. This is the old brand identity of using Wikipedia education, the black square, which is still being used by many affiliates till date. We see if you go to the country page on Outreach Wiki, you can still see some of the affiliates are still using this black logo. Uh, we think this happened because during then community members were mostly using Wikipedia as a education tool. So those we had the Wikipedia education program logo. I'll talk more about this in the upcoming slides, highlighting some of our findings from the mapping exercise that the education team did last year. The education team did a survey regarding the logo or other resources that were there for the community, and we tried to understand what is the need of the community and what the community wants and what are the changes we should make. So we did a survey in 2017-18, and we had an on-site visit to Asia with one of our staff, one of our manager traveled across 3 Asian countries to understand how the community is doing the basic programs related to Wikimedia and education. So we thought from those surveys and on-site uh, meetings, we found that many of the communities don't identify Wikipedia education program as a identity, because the movement has grown a lot from last 5-6 years, and people have started using different Wikimedia tools for doing education related activities. And when we did the survey, one of the results from the survey for the brand identities, where people found that the black square is dull, it doesn't talk more about how our community is doing different work. So before we talk about what our community, like what are the changes we've made, let's see what our communities are doing, what our communities are currently working on. So there have been education activities in different parts of the world. Some of the famous ones I would like to highlight here. We have wiki camps by Wikimedia Romania, which is happening in like different countries as well by different affiliates. We have like wiki camps in Romania, Serbia, Macedonia, Azerbaijan. Wikicamp is a very interesting activity where a group of people gather around. They just not edit Wikipedia. They have some fun. It's like more like a camp activities like we see. Then we have Senior Citizens Program by Wikimedia Czech Republic, which is one of the interesting program. When I'll talk about the new motto or theme of the education movement, I'll explain more about it. Then we have Wikisource in India, where students learn how to type their mother tongue on the computer for the first time, and they transcribe different books in their language by editing on Wikisource. Then we have different fellowship programs by Wikimedia Foundation, human rights and education by Wikimedia Argentina. Then Wikimedia Deutschland works very closely with some policy for some policy level changes within the government, and they have a free education alliance group where the staff members there work on this. Then there are different education program related to indigenous languages or wiki books. One of them is done by Wikimedia Taiwan. So we can see through these programs, we are creating readers, we are creating contributors, we are creating leaders and advocates within our community. So talking about these under a single umbrella, saying Wikipedia education program now is very difficult, as we can see how the community has evolved within these years. So how did we find about all these activities? The main finding and learning are from mapping exercise, uh, which we did last year. Me and a co-intern, we worked for 2 months to identify what our community is working on, and this movement has been a long. Uh, like Wikimedians have been using Wikipedia or its sister project as a tool for education from a long time. One of the main finding from mapping exercise was we saw that Wikimedians from Serbia started education program in 2005 in Belgrade University, which was one of the initial program or the first program. We can say maybe there were some more programs which we couldn't find, or some programs which are not documented, but that was the first documented activity that we could find that uh, Wikimedians are using education Wikipedia for education too. So through this mapping exercise, we found that Wikipedia has been used in different education label that we identify, from primary level, secondary, higher education, vocational, and lifelong learning. So, what is our vision now? We believe that Wikimedia belongs in education, and when students from different ages, of all ages, contribute to Wikimedia projects as a part of their learning, they gain significant 21st century skills. I'll give 1 minute for the participant, 2 minutes. Let's say 2 minutes to go through the vision statement, and I'll move forward. So 2 minutes now to read the vision statement. Yeah, I think most people must have read by now. So let's move ahead and see if we have a new vision now. What are the new resources we have for the community? Oh, is it chat something? Okay, cool. Thanks, Stephen. So we asked the communication department at Wikimedia Foundation to design a logo for us, and this is a new logo we have received for the Wikimedia education movement last year. We received three logos for us, and we had a short uh, voting process for the community to decide which they want to be the Wikimedia education logo, and they finally decided this shade of the color as the logo. So now we are creating Wikimedia education as a brand. For example, when you talk about glam, people identify glam is under one umbrella. So though this brand would be the larger umbrella for our education movement, we still want people to define their work, define what they are doing, or what are the project they are working on. Uh, Similarly, uh, through that survey, we also asked the community members to give us some updates or ideas what they want in the outreach wiki. So many of you might know that, or if you don't know, we have a separate space for education in the movement. So there is a outreach wiki which has documentation for GLAM and both GLAM and education. We and those pages were not updated for quite some time, and we decided to update last year, and it's still in the process. You can see in many of the pages there's under construction tag or tag saying we are working on it. It will be there. Some contents will be there soon. Uh, so this survey also helped us to decide what the community wants as a main tabs of where they what they want to read in outreach wiki. So the new updated version of the outreach wiki looks something like this, where we are we tried to make it more user friendly and mobile friendly for Wikimedians, for people who are Wikimedians who are reading resources from mobile. We wanted the site to be more mobile friendly for them. Uh, Post that, we worked on creating a brand identity or brand resource for Wikimedians involved in Wikimedian education, like how they can share their work, how we can help them to promote their work, or have a collaborative space for us to learn from each other. And some of the brand identity we created, I'll walk through that page sometime after this presentation. Some of the brand identity we created, we found that being used by different Wikimedians. We saw them for people by Wikimedians being used in Wikipedia Education conference that happened in San Sebastian. We saw that in Wikimedia SARC conference that happened in Bangalore, also in the education meeting that happened in Mexico. So people are trying to use the identity of Wikimedia Education or the brand of Wikimedia Education. So over here, you can see different tabs and find where you can engage with the community or where you can engage with the uh, WMF team, the team at the Wikimedia Foundation. So now let's talk about Wikimedia education. So we saw how the process involved, how old our movement is, what are the new brand identity or resources we have or we are working on. But when I'm doing a project, am I just is it or is it good to say that I'm working on a Wikipedia education program to like to some will someone from other community or other organization will relate to it? So when we are doing some activity, we want you to think of four things: what you are doing, what is what is its impact on your project, what is your audience learning from it, and how you're evaluating it. So uh, these are the four major topics you try to cover when you're running a program or when you're explaining someone about your program or activity. So I'll give some example about it. Let's say about an education activity that happened in Ghana, where Wikimedians trained university professors on how to use Wikipedia in classroom. That helps students to learn different writing skills. So we should also keep something in mind that digitization skill is one of the 21st century skills. So whenever students learn writing on Wikipedia or writing articles, they do different kind of research. They need research skills, they need writing skills, and which is somehow they learn while editing Wikipedia. And through this, we are making the 21st century leaders or digital leaders within our movement. In the same way, CIS is also supporting some professors to evaluate the work that their students are doing, and their students are transcribing. The students are transcribing books from their language, or digitizing their books on Wiki with the help of Wikisource. So that was mostly about how we want you to talk about Wikimedia and education. Our team try to keep the community update on different platforms. If you want to reach out to the team, refer your anything related to your program, you can write to us at education@wikimedia.org. We are on Facebook. I'll show you where you can find us on different social media channels when I will walk you through the I'll walk you through the video through the Wikimedia space or the education space at Outreach Wiki. Also, there's a Wikimedia mailing list where you can find more updates of what is happening. Wikimedia education mailing list, sorry, where you can find what are the things happening in the larger education movement. The team also publishes a monthly newsletter uh, where it's a newsletter contributed by the community and published by the education team, where community members share different work they have done in that month, which they want to highlight or wanted the rest of the community to know about it. I'll also show you that. I'll also show you the news space. we we also have some collaboration spaces. The education team organizes one office hours a month, which is an open space for anyone to join, talk about education activities or talk about different things related to the Wikimedia movement. It's an open movement where education leaders, Wikimedians, or anyone who is an ally or value our work can join. We have office space, which is a one-on-one consultation platform for Wikimedians to reach out the staff, education staff at Wikimedia Foundation to help them structure the work they are doing or give them some feedback or help them how to evaluate the work they are doing. Any kind of help if you need from the staffs at the education team. Then there is an education user group open meeting. I'll just like to share the history of education user group. Education user group was the collab, as a former collab that existed in the education movement. And last year they formed as an user group, and they have been doing open meeting. I think they're doing bi-monthly open meetings for anyone who can join, and they also have featured speakers for the open meetings. Then we have Wikimedia Space. So if you are not aware of the Wikimedia Space is a centralized, collaborative, multilingual platform for keeping our resources together to centralize the resources. We have a category. We have an education category at Wikimedia Space, which I'm also going to show you. And thank you. Uh, we will take the question and answers later, uh, by before the sorry, after the end of the meeting. So I'll ask the participants to spend 5 minutes. So if you have learned something and if you're doing your education activity, try to explain what do you want, what is the impact of your education activity, or what you are doing as your education activity. If you could spend some time writing a one line or two line in the chat, and if it'd be awesome if Melissa could read out that for me.
Sure, Silesh. We also already have one question on the chat that I can hold for you.
Sure.
Silas, could you maybe repeat the prompt one more time, please?
Okay, so we want you to write one line on the chat or in the chat, saying what is education activity you are doing or you're planning to do, and how do you see, like, explain your activity to us. Like I shared some example in the previous slides. If you could explain your activity to us. In one line, like what is the impact your education activity doing? Okay, we have one in chat. Chico, Florencia, and Stephen. Hi, Florencia. And do you want me to repeat the question again?
Hi everyone. I'm sorry I was late. I'm trying to write the question. I think I get it. Thank you.
Yeah, if you can say it also, it's fine. You don't have to write it.
Oh, okay. I'm Florencia, as I was saying, from Wikimedia Argentina education team. I'm a project assistant. I work with Vecina. She's the coordinator of the program. And we basically work with schools and universities on learning to read and to edit Wikipedia so we can add content here from Argentina.
Thank you. Chico, would you like to share something about it? If you're currently doing some education activity or if you're planning in future?
Hello?
Yeah.
Okay, got it. So I'm Chico Venancio. I'm a volunteer at Wikimovimento Brazil. We have been working with supporting college professors for a while. We have some very large education programs in that context of using Wikipedia inside colleges and universities. One of the projects that we've always wanted to take on is trying to bring Wikipedia to the classroom in context that it's a little bit more challenging in terms of infrastructure, or the teachers not having the digital literacy, or they just don't like Wikipedia. That's one of the reasons that I ended up in this webinar, was the call for the pilot program. And I'm interested in learning how that can be a partnership to expand our program.
Sure. So, Chico, we are not doing that webinar for the reading Wikipedia in classroom, but we will be having an affiliates meeting soon about that. Please join us for it. So I will spend some time to walk you through the education portal and space. Just let me know if my screen is showing. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, it's still showing.
Presentation, yes.
Okay. Is it still showing the presentation or the outreach space?
I see the presentation.
Me too.
Ouch. New share. Okay. What about now?
The presentation.
Oh,
No. The Wikimedia page.
Okay, it's the
Yes.
outreach space. Okay.
Yeah, that's right.
So when I was talking about outreach wiki, so this is the outreach wiki. When you go to outreach.wikimedia.org, this is a different wiki to document works related to GLAM and education. And we have we have our resource documentation in here. So the education space is the education portal is dedicated only for education. You can also reach here by clicking education.wikimedia.org. So this is the updated page. You can navigate around different places. You can go to home. You can click on about to read some of the new resources that we have worked on. Still, some of them have, as I mentioned, that the line saying we are working on different resources, wait for it. But there is a page in resources is the brand guidelines. When I was talking about different Wikimedians using the Wikimedia Education as a brand, you can see how we are trying to explain on how to talk about Wikimedia in education, what not to do. Like when you're explaining your activity, don't say we did a WEP or we want to do a Wikipedia education program somewhere like that. So this text completely helps you to understand that. Let us know if it does not. So this we can work more on it. And there are certain resources that we have created for you, like you can use the new Wikimedia Education logo, and there are some guidelines you have to follow because it's a logo by Wikimedia Foundation. You have to follow some guidelines to localize it to your context. We have we have also identified 5 new colors which you can use in your project. We have a presentation slides specially dedicated for Wikimedia Education, and some of the illustration which you can use when you're working with students or professors or anyone in the education. So that's the outreach portal was about. You can also find the community spaces here. So I was talking about how some of the affiliates are still using the old logo. I'm giving an example of Argentina, as for instance here. So you can see that Wikimedia Argentina still has the country as a, not Wikimedia Argentina, but as a country, they have the old black logo which says Wikipedia Education Program. We want you to localize the new logo, as I'm sure Wikimedia Argentina is not doing just Wikipedia education program these days. They are doing a lot of activities. So yeah, and you can also find events and opportunities. You can see these two webinars were listed here, and the office hours by the education team, or one-on-one consultation office space by the education team. We also want you to use the news space. By clicking here, you can read what are the different things or the different activities happening around the world. This is a summer wiki camp from Armenia. This is a story from Germany and and from different parts of the world. So to write your own education newsletter, you have to go to newsroom, put your title here, and draft your own newsletter. So this was about the portal on Outreach Wiki. I would also like to show you the mapping exercise that the education team did. Sorry, I had it logged in, but I somehow closed all my tabs. Sorry, I had it open, but I closed all my tabs. So the education mapping exercise tries to like map around different activities that are happening in our movement, or has happened in the education movement. So you can see we have 107 activities as of now, like where this happened, who was the person started it, what was the affiliate, who was the affiliate supporting it, what was the affiliate supporting it, when it started and ended. So this is a resource we are trying to create for the community so that they can reach out to these affiliates or reach out to those community members, or try to understand how broad our movement is, how diverse our movement is. You can see there are Wikimedians using different Wikimedia projects, and it's happening in different part of the world. So it's an interesting resource page. After these 2 webinars, when I'll get feedback from the participants and what are the changes we need to make in the webinar, I'll create a resource list and publish that on the Wikimedia space as well, with this mapping exercise document. And please go through it. I'll share a link if you need. And if you see that your program is missing from it, we have a form where you can add the programs to it. Then we have the Wikimedia space. So as I told, that Wikimedia space is a centralized documentation space. You can just click, you can join the space and find resources under different categories, what are the categories you are looking for, like the regional coordination, languages, and we have a space for education. You can see there are different topics being asked, or some of them have been resolved, some of them are still open discussions. You can participate in that. So we want you to use the space for the collaboration space as well. And yep, so we'll have questions now.